Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Simon and today I am back with my March book haul. So some of the books that I got sent by publishers, some lovely gifts from you lovely lot, and some books that I gifted to myself because why not? Books I bought myself. It happens every month, although I have been more reserved in my purchases myself this month. And I mean, that could partly be because I was out of the country quite a bit, but it could also be because I'm just trying to hold back a little. And actually, hopefully for Independent Bookshop Week, me and my mum are going to be pre-recording a bookish road trip around some bookshops in the UK over a weekend later this month. And so I'm kind of staving off and saving certain titles that I would like to buy when we go and do that. Anyway, let's get cracking, and as always, starting with books from publishers and starting with books that I've shown on the channel before, but finished copies have come in. The first of which is Max Porter's Shy, which is out imminently, if it's not out already. I can't believe I still haven't read this, especially because it's a short, sharp number. Well, I'm assuming it's going to be sharp. His writing tends to be, although I wasn't a huge fan of the Francis Bacon one. His previous works to that, Lanny and Grief is a Thing with Feathers, are two books that I just think are absolutely stunning, particularly Lanny. So really intrigued for this, which is about I think it's like the night in the life of one particular young man, so I'm intrigued for it. Then I'm going to be interviewing this author on the 18th of April in Waterstones in Liverpool. I will link that down below if you'd like to come along. It's Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson, which I have heard nothing but amazing rave reviews of from across the water, and I think it's kind of a family drama, but I'm not too sure because I haven't read it yet, but I'll be reading it very soon. I'm obsessed with the pineapple end papers, but I do want to know why there's not a pineapple on the cover and why they've gone for an orange, so that may be revealed when I get to it at some point very soon. And then I have a copy of Atlanta by Jennifer Saint, which is sort of taunting me because I have had copies of all Jennifer's books so far and I haven't read any yet. I know my mum, who has a channel, Louise Savage Muses, I'll try to remember to link that down below, she's a huge fan of Ariadne. And also I just realised I called it Atlanta and I'm not right. Atalanta, sorry, excuse me. I love this cover, that's so beautiful. So yeah, we have that. Oh, we've got some paperbacks. I should have held these up first because I like to go in size order because I like some kind of routine going on amongst the madness. These paperbacks I have mentioned before. So we have My Name is Yip by Paddy Crew. I've been meaning to read this for a while. I'm going to be for a future vlog where Minnie Driver has picked 3 books that she thinks that I should read, and this was one of them. Slight spoiler for that. And then I can't believe I've not read this yet because so many people have loved it, particularly Ewan of Hardback Hypebeast, because he honestly wanged on, frankly, to me about this book. It's Vignetti, it's quite different. I've heard it's quite heartbreaking. Maybe that's why I put it off. I feel like I need to be in kind of like quite a mood emotionally. I never in general. I'm wary that pile's gonna fall over, so 1 second please. Also, I was gonna say this is gonna be a quick and nasty book haul. It's going live later on today. I'm filming this on my lunch break, and the last few weeks have been a bit of a baptism of fire since I've come back from holiday, because it's just been non-stop. I had my birthday, I had Pip's hen do, which was fabulous. I've had lots of events with authors in bookshops of late, and there will be a vlog of a lot of that coming on Sunday. I think I'm going to be back in the swing of Wednesdays and Sundays now. So there's that. 2 books from publishers, and I'm going by size order, and also if I've got any ones that I'm particularly excited. And I was actually talking about this book last night with the wonderful Elizabeth Day before we did an event in Liverpool, and it's In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. This is one that I had been offered by the publisher and I had just missed the email, and because I don't go on my Savage Reads emails that much anymore because I'm trying to have more balance with everything, I emailed and asked for it, didn't hear back for a bit, and had actually bought it, so you'll see it again later, and then got this one. So this is the one that I can cart around and bash about, and yeah, there we go. Then this is the proof edition, My Life as a Chameleon by Diana, this bobbly bit isn't very good for reading anything, by Diana Anyekwo. I believe it's set in Nigeria, and Diana got in touch with me because she saw that I was doing an event with Ayabami Adebayo, sorry, in Manchester back in February, and she came, but she didn't say hello. Diana, if you see this, absolute minx. All of this is going to be post my Women's Prize reading, which will also be a future vlog. In fact, there's going to be 2 Women's Prize vlogs coming up. You will finally get the video where me and Mum read Barbara Kingsolver's Demon Copperhead and film our thoughts initially every 50 pages. That got a bit much, so then we go to 100, and then that'll be merged so that you flip between our thoughts. And I think could be, because both Mum and I love a tangent, as you can see right now, it could be, I mean, even as long as a movie, frankly. You might need popcorn, you might need a hot dog, be it a meaty one or a vegan one, whatever. Anyway, then I got the Spectres of Algeria by Huan Yeo-jung, translated by Yiwan Jung. And I don't know anything about this, but it's from Homford Star. I feel like this could possibly be on the International Booker Prize long list. I looked at that long list and then sort of just, there were a few that I was like, Boulder, I'm really, really keen to read, because Rebecca Eats Books and Julie of the Linen Librarian both have absolutely raved about it, so that's really, really intriguing to get to it. Homford Star are a publisher that I've got a real interest in finding out more about, because I think they publish quite unusual quirky stuff, as well as a lot of translated works. And so yeah, this arriving was just a lovely thing to get, and I was very, very, very excited about it. So yeah, thrilled to have that one. And this book arrived from Europa, and I wasn't sure about the look of it, but then mere days later I saw on the wonderful Nathan's Nook, or Nathan's channel, Nathan's Nook, Esther Yee's Y/N, and he was raving about it. And what I loved with his review is he didn't give too much away. It was just like, you have to read this, you have to read this. And so I will have to read it because Nathan said so. I wasn't initially that sure, but if Nathan thinks it's great, I'm going to give it a whirl. There we go. Then I said I wasn't going to do many themed reading vlogs over the forthcoming months. However, like I've just said, there are a couple of Women's Prize ones because I'm trying to read more by whim. That said, there are a few books that are queer and bonkers that I really, really want to get to. So you've got Patricia Wants Cuddle, which is about a queer female sort of King Kong sized gorilla, I believe. And then we've got the one which is Open Throat, which is all about a queer, really hungry mountain lion. And the lovely folk at Atlantic have sent me Bored Gay Werewolf by Tony Stantorella. And like, I just feel like all of those books need to be read together. And actually, I could also include a book that I've been meaning to read for ages in that video, which is briefly A Delicious Life by Nell Stevens, which is about a queer ghost. So I think that is something that I will do, possibly to go live around the time of Pride. And the folk at Atlantic also very kindly sent me Family Meal, which is Brian Washington's latest. And is it a novel or is it short stories? I'm not sure. Oh, it's Vignetti though, so I'm so excited by that already. I've enjoyed both of Brian Washington's books before. I thought Memoriam was particularly brilliant. And so yeah, I'm really, really keen to read this. And again, sorry if that's a bit annoying because I'm not telling you what the blurb of it is, but because I don't like to read them to spoil it for me, I'm not going to read it. I can say that I'm just super excited because I've read works by this author before, and so therefore fired up for it. Now, I have not read anything by this author before because I believe this is a debut, but what really intrigues me is not just the people who have quoted on it, because you've got quotes from Marlon James, you've got Jacqueline Woodson and Kieran Desai. It's Promise by Rachel Eliza Griffiths, and I believe this is the first book at John Murray's that the wonderful Yvonne Battle-Belton, who wrote Remembered, which I absolutely loved, has brought in to John Murray's, where she's now working. So I'm intrigued for it just for that. Again, don't know anything about it, want to go into it with no real idea at all, but it's filled, pun intended, with promise, just because I know Yvonne loves it and I loved her writing so much, and when I've met her she's been an absolute joy, so that's a promising thing. Isn't it interesting how who we find out a book or by, or who we get recommended books by, can give us a difference? I mean, that sounds like the most daft thing to say, actually, considering that's what I am doing right now. On to some hardbacks that have arrived. Friendaholic by the aforementioned Elizabeth Day, which is Confessions of a Friendship Addict. This I have read, absolutely loved. Did an event with Elizabeth last night when it had just been announced it was Sunday Times #1 bestseller in non-fiction. Thrilled for her, just frankly. And yeah, I'll be talking about this in my April wrap-up. My March wrap-up will be coming next week. But suffice to say, it's once again a brilliant piece of non-fiction by Elizabeth that looks at friendship, both from her perspective, but also from the perspective of a lot of her friends and other people she asks questions about. And it looks at making friends, breaking friends, ghosting, all sorts, how friendship changes over time. Friendship is a subject matter that I find mildly triggering, I guess. And this soothed, picked a few scabs, I won't lie, but also has really made me think and has made me feel more hopeful, positive, refreshed about myself as a friend, but also how I want to take my friendships forward. More on that in a wrap-up in due course. It's brilliant. Then I'm very excited for this one. I was super excited when Elizabeth's books arrived. Like I did a big dance around the house because I was so excited to get to it, but I've read that one, so that's why I'm saying books that I'm super excited about in present tense, not past tense. I'm overthinking it like a dreadful one. Actually, I want to bring that up. I did a video that went live on my birthday, and I was just talking about like my thoughts and what was going on and what I was thinking about different things and sort of just soundboarding basically. And a lot of people said, "Oh, Simon, you don't half overthink." I don't see it as overthinking. I like this channel to be a place where it feels like we're having a conversation. And if I was with my friends having a chat, and this happens on the regular, I would think something, say it. And as I'm saying it, I'll be thinking about how it sounds, how I feel about that, and sort of something. But also I'm a great believer in self-auditing. I don't think it's a bad thing. So I just want to mention that. Anyway, I'm super excited for The Misadventures of Margaret Finch by Claire McGlasson. I read her novel The Rapture and thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's faction, it's based on a cult that happened in the south of England, and I just thought it was brill and wanged on about it the year it came out. So I'm very excited for this one, which I believe is set in Blackpool and I think follows a true period of history too. So yeah, very, very excited for that one. Now, this book was recommended to me by the wonderful Ayabami Adebayo. And in fact, she recommended me 2 books by this author. I have On Black Sister Street. I now also have The Middle Daughter by Chika Onigwe. And on the front it says, a memorable read by Ayabami Adebayo and Absorbing and Tender by Paula Hawkins. I have been told as well, this book can ruin you and you can get quite frustrated, I think, with the narrator. All of that just actually sounds like Savage Catnip. So very, very excited for this one. Super duper duper excited for the first of my big hardback sized proofs, and that is The Ghost Ship by Kate Moss. I'm very excited as well because me and my mum are going to see Kate Moss is it a week today? It's on the 12th, and we're going to the final night of her one-woman show that she's been taking on tour. Really excited for that. I'm actually going to start listening to a non-fiction book, which is Warrior Women. It's behind me. Warrior Queens and Quiet Revolutionaries. So I'm going to be listening to that in the lead up because that's kind of what the show is about, although apparently it's different from the book. Anyway, this is the third in her, what are the chronicles called? The Joubert Family Chronicles. I have read The Burning Chambers and really liked it. I haven't read The City of Tears yet, so I'm going to. And then I'm going to be reading this because Kate and I are going to be doing an event in Liverpool in July. And I was saying to Kate on Instagram, like I was excited for seeing her next week, but also really excited about this and looking forward to chatting to her about it. And she went, lesbian pirates, what's not to love? Well, quite. I can't blink and wait. And if that hasn't sold you this book, well, it should do. I don't know, because some of you will possibly ask, is this a book that you can read without having read the previous 2? I'll find out from Kate when I see her next week. Then I think this is an author who's Australian but now lives in Dublin, and I haven't read as much Aussie lit in the last couple of years as I would like, but when I got asked about this one I was like, yeah, I definitely need to read this. It's The Couples by Laura Mackenzie, and this is about 3 different couples they're all friends, the 6 of them, and for one night they decide to swap partners, and it's what follows on from there, or the aftermath. So I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. I'm hoping it's going to be a bit saucy, a little bit. I just saw the word blowjob, so quite possibly. Would like to get to this one quite soon. Non-fiction next, after the only other non-fiction book I think being Elizabeth's. I really want to get back into non-fiction. Last year, hardly read any. Year before that, didn't read that much. The year before that was the year where I suddenly out of nowhere was reading loads. But I have plans with non-fiction this year, and this is in those plans. This is Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. And this is all about, can we separate the art from the artist? So I think it looks at people such as Pablo Picasso, Michael Jackson, and other people who've been incredibly problematic but have created some incredible art, be it literature, be it music, be it literally art. So this intrigues me hugely, and yeah, I want to get to this one soon. So many exciting books at the moment. And another proof that arrived is The Beasts of Paris by Steph Penny, who wrote The Tenderness of Walls, which I really, really enjoyed when I read it way back when it came out and there was all the kind of buzz for it. And I don't know if this is the first book she's written since. I'm not sure, but it's the first one to fall into my hands. The only thing that puts me off this slightly, just to be fully transparent, which I always am, is Paris. I like Paris to visit. I'm yet to find a book set in Paris that I've enjoyed, and I'm not sure why that is, because I've never had any bad times in Paris personally, but I feel like any time I've read a book with Paris, it's this almost, I want to say, floral, perfumed, over-the-top chic Paris that isn't the Paris that I love. Maybe I've just solved the riddle of what my issue with books about Paris is. Anyway, that is one. I'm assuming it's going to be about some kind of zoo or something, but I don't know. This book I asked for, and that's Lady Macbeth by Isabel Schuler. She will be queen whatever it takes. Great end papers again. So I should say what it's about. It's about a Scottish queen, and I don't know whether this is like the whole Macbeth retelling, but I'm hoping it is. Me and my mum, I think we're talking quite a while ago, like, why has there not been a Lady Macbeth retelling? And here it is. Another one that I'm super excited about, and he's coming to Liverpool, so I'm hoping to go to the event that he does. This is The Five Sorrowful Mysteries of Andy Africa by Stephen Burrow. I think he won the Booker... Oh, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, he was the recipient of the Booker Prize Foundation Scholarship, and I really love Nigerian fiction. I've talked about this before on the channel, and this is set in Nigeria and is by a Nigerian author. And yeah, the fact there's Marilyn Monroe on the cover really intrigues me. And this is one of those books where I've heard buzz about it, not to the point where I can tell you what the story is, and again, I don't want to be blurb, so I don't know. But the buzz that I've heard, and like I said, there's been quite a bit of it, has made me really excited for this. So I may do a 5-star predictions video at some point, but actually turn it into a vlog where I actually read those 5-star predictions. He's rusty. He's not done videos for a while. I'm going to rush through this next set, which was very kindly sent by the Women's Prize, and because they were the copies of the long list that I didn't have. So here we have Homesick by Jennifer Croft. Homesick by Jennifer Croft. I'm aware how long this video could be. Wandering Souls by Cecile Penn. The Dog of the North by Elizabeth Mackenzie. Black Butterflies by Priscilla Morris. And Bandit Queens by Perini Schroff. And you voted for 2 books that me and Mum should do videos for, where we have our thoughts as we read them and then amalgamate them like we've done with the Demon Copperhead video, which hasn't come out yet. And these 2 were the books that you picked. They were the ones that got the most votes, so that is what we'll be doing. So yeah, I haven't read those yet. More on what I haven't read for the Women's Prize in a future vlog. So there we are. We're on to some lovely gifts that I got. Now, first up, these arrived from my lovely friend Julie, who I had talked to for a while and then actually got to meet when I went out to San Francisco. And you know, you just bond with someone and you just absolutely love them, and they're just a bit of you. You're on the same wavelength, and yeah, I am furious with Julie though, because Julie used to have a booktube channel called Bookshop, and it was brilliant and amazing, and she stopped doing it. And I have said, because this is a book that I kindly asked her to send me, and I'm sending her some books from here, so we're going to start doing like a transatlantic book swap together, because I'd heard amazing things about it, particularly from Jalen at the Bar and the Bookcase. In fact, the wonderful Sophie at Biblio Sophie has recently read it. I will try to remember to link all of these channels down below, because I'd love you to go and find them and, you know, get as excited about their content as I do. They've raved about it, so I wanted this one. And Julie was really keen that I read this, which is Afterward by Nina Schulier. And she's just said this is absolutely amazing and like one of the best books she's read in a really, really long time. Julie, I'm not reading this until I see a YouTube channel from you. There you go. I've thrown that out there. I've dropped that gauntlet. Let's see how we go with it. Now, on to some books that have very kindly come from some of you lovely lot. The first of which came from the lovely Diane Dickinson, which is The Ones Who Don't Say They Love You, which is a collection of short stories by Maurice Carlos Ruffin, who wrote We Cast a Shadow, which is a book I heard nothing but amazing things nothing but amazing things about from lots of lovely people. Michael Kindness particularly, who used to do the wonderful Books on the Nightstand podcast with the fabulous Anne Kingman, he really raved about We Cast a Shadow, and I really trust his opinion. I do have it, I think, on the shelves, and I saw this and I was like, ooh, I want to read more short story collections this year, even though I've got quite a few. However, this one really appeals, and I would like to get to this one very, very soon. I know I'm saying that about all the books. Then we have, sent by the lovely Linda Benowith, Let's Get Back to the Party, a novel by Zach Sally. By Zach Saleh. And this, again, has just had a lot of book buzz about it here, there, and everywhere. And I should say that the reason that these were sent, I think because I have a wish list that is only books that I can't get in the UK in bookshops, and therefore I feel like it's all right to use a certain website that I have problems with, going back to problematic things. It was my birthday in March, and so these were birthday gifts. The list is there all year round, and if you want to say thanks for the free content and buy me a book that I'm really, really excited for, feel free. But I also know we're in a cost of living crisis, so don't feel any pressure whatsoever. Same with Patreon, anything like that. Like, it's lovely if you can, but please do not feel obligated in any way, or like if I mention it, like, ugh. Anyway, moving on, because awkward. Then Elsewhere by Alexis Shatkin, who wrote St. X, which I think I also have on my shelves over there. This came to my attention because of a new prize, which is the Carol Shields Prize for American and Canadian female or non-binary authors. And that to me really, really, like, I was like, oh my goodness. And I saw the long list and it looks so good. And this sounds amazing because this is set in a village where, and this is where I will be odd and go and read the blurbs, even though I wouldn't normally if I was in a bookshop. Or would I? I think what happens actually, sorry to go off on tangent number 789 of this video, but in bookshops, I've realised I'll pick up a book, read the blurb, and I won't buy the book. I'll put it down, and then I'll invariably possibly buy it later on, either when the blurb's kind of faded for me, but I'm thinking, oh, I was excited about that, or I won't pick it up because it's like, oh, the blurb was mare and I wasn't that bothered. I also do it with prize long lists because, you know, it's only the women's prize long list that I read the entire long list of, unless I'm judging a prize, which I am this year, the Royal Society of Literature's Christopher Bland Prize, and our shortlist will be coming out in the beginning of, at the end of May, I think. Or is it the beginning of May? May. Going back to Elsewhere after tangent 822. This is set in a village where women, particularly mothers, just vanish at some point. And just that premise, I was like, that sounds like a piece of me. So very excited for this one. I can't remember when I heard about this next one, which the lovely Miss SD Weekly got me. It's one that I have had in the back of my mind as one I want to read for a really long time. And it's Nuclear Family by Joseph Han. But I can't remember who raved about it. It was probably a few people, because it normally takes more than one rave to like get me to be like, oh, I will really go and look at it. Well, actually, that's not true. Depends who's raving about it. Maybe this is one I should head to soonest, because I know probably the least about it. But huge thank you for sending me that one. Then we have, and I feel like this is from Denise Wilson, who sent me 2 books. And this is the first of those. This is Boys Come First by Aaron Foley. I heard this was just a really great book about black masculinity, but also black joy, and I think that's such an important thing. Recently I did a video on Patreon with Chris, who is just not very keen on appearing on the channel much anymore, and we did a video talking about the books that he's read so far this year, and I was just saying that about Patreon and everything. It is linked down below if you're interested, but like I said, if you're not, don't worry, we'll move on. I feel like a lot of books that end up in the mainstream by black authors have a real tragedy to them, just like I do a lot of books by queer authors about queer things. And I think we need to know the sad stuff and the hard times, and I think it's really important, but I think we also really need to see joy, and I believe this has that, so that's exciting. The lovely BW Avid Reader sent me The Famous Magician by Cesar Aria. These are the New Direction Storybooks editions, which I've seen lots and lots of people raving about, and I'm very, very excited for. This one was one that I really wanted to get to, as was this next one, which was sent by the lovely Kathy I. This is the English Understand Wool by Helen DeWitt. Now, I have seen nothing but amazing, amazing, amazing things about this. I've really not seen that much about this one particularly. I think there's one by Clarice Lispector that people have really, really raved about too. But yeah, super duper excited for this and hoping at some point to get the entire set. Oh, this was the other book from Denise. This is We Measure the Earth with Our Bodies by Tsering Yangzom Lama. And this is another that is up for the Carol Shields Prize, I think, unless I'm confusing it with the Giller Prize, another book that really celebrates Canadian authors. Also, on a Canadian theme, if you have not watched Canada Reads, which I hadn't before this year, I think it's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant book show where they get a group of, is it 5? Yeah, 5 different people who each put forward the book they think the whole of Canada should be reading, and they basically go against each other in head-to-heads with one book disappearing every episode until there is one winner. And it happened a couple of weeks ago, the 2023 one, but there's videos of the last few years, and I'm going to go back because I want to get more into my Canadian literature, even though I had a little wobble with Alias Grace and I haven't talked about the next one actually in a wrap up yet, so here's a slight spoiler. Women Talking by Miriam Toews. Anyway, we have that one. Then we have a book that I don't think could sound more me, but I don't think this one came with a name of who sent it. This is How to Be Eaten by Maria Adleman, and this, I don't know where I first heard about this, but I love a good fairy tale. That said, and one thing that I really want to do this year is get back into like discovering the reader that I am, as opposed to, or in complement to, whatever, the reader that I used to be. As, look, I was patting myself on the shoulder there. Well done, Simon, for trying to work out what kind of reader you are. But this feels like a book that the child me would love as an adult. The reader that I was when I got back into reading in my mid-20s would have loved, and probably in my 30s, because it's about a group of women who are in this therapy group, and they are all women who have been in fairy tales, and they're sat having a chat about it in New York, and that to me just sounds so perfect. So there we go. Right, on to books that I bought myself. The first two, which I actually bought at the end of February and forgot to include in my last haul, so it really shows that I have not bought very many books at all, which I'm quite surprised by. The first is Waiting for an Angel by Helen Habilla. The reason that I want to read Helen and Teju's books are that in Ayobami Adebayo's latest novel, it's set in 4 parts, and each one is named after a book and has a quote from those books, and these are 2 of them, and at some point that is going to be a video that I do in the forthcoming weeks and months. So I needed 2 of them. I already had 2, one by Sefi Atta, and like I mentioned earlier, On Black Sister Street by Chika Onigwe. So there we have that. Then, now this was a very naughty buy, but it is one that I bought, so I'm going to share it with you. This is Things They Lost by Query Adore, and if you have watched some videos recently, you'll have seen that I got the hardback of this because it was on the Dylan Thomas Prize long list, and I was just really intrigued by it. It's set in Kenya and has Kenyan myths and legends entwined within it, as I think it's also a story about a young girl growing up in quite difficult circumstances. But I had run out of books to read when I was in Birmingham for a meeting back at the beginning of March, and so I picked this up because it was going to be the thing that I read next. But actually, I pretty much almost fell asleep the entire journey back from Birmingham because I was shattered, because I was still at the tail end. I say tail end, I've still got it mildly, sinusitis. So yeah, I will read this at some point. I actually thought I preferred the hardback cover. Now I don't know, this one has grown on me a lot. Then this book I heard about through the lovely Jordan who works at West Kirby Bookshop, and I technically should have bought it there. However, I'm holding off going there until next Wednesday when I'm going to take Mum for just to have a little mooch. This isn't part of our video for International Independent Bookshop Week. This is just because we're seeing each other for Kate Moss. She's staying, and then I thought it'd be nice to go and have brunch in a bookshop the next day. Anyway, the book is Ladies' Lunch and Other Stories by Laura Segal, and apparently it's just this absolutely fantastic short story collection. I think about one in particular is about 5 older women who meet for lunch, and I love books about older women, and by older women I'm talking like in their mid to late 80s and 90s. There's just something about, I don't know, I just like it. So there we are. Then I picked up Brown Girls by Daphne Palazzi Andrades, and this has been like everywhere, particularly in this paperback edition, although I saw the edition in America that I think has got like an old building on the cover. Anyway, this is another book that is up for the Carol Shields Prize, and so I picked up a copy because I'm hoping, I'm not going to be able to read the long list. The shortlist is announced on the 6th of April. I can't work out what day of the week it is today. So is that tomorrow? Is that the day after? Is it today? Who knows? So I'm going to read the shortlist is my plan. This is a book that I had imported. It's Modern Fables, essays by Mika Jacobson. I heard amazing things about this. I think this might have been on the Giller Prize, and I don't read enough essay collections, and I have very few. All of this is non-fiction behind me. I really want to get to more, and that, yeah, I decided that was a good one. Then this was my birthday present to me, from my own wish list. But it's a book that I just heard so much about, and I had planned to sit and read it on my birthday. However, I ended up actually doing things and socialising and having jet lag, so it was a whole combination of emotions that day. I did read Selena Godden's latest collection, which was the perfect start to a birthday year, and I think I talk about that in the vlog that'll be going live on Sunday. I will be reading this very soon because I'm very excited for it. It's Brother and Sister Enter the Forest by Richard Mirabella, and this is another book that I've heard nothing but amazing things about, but without ever really looking too much into what it's about because I want to go off and find myself. But I think it's got fairy tale elements, possibly Hansel and Gretel vibes, but there's a queerness to it as well, and I'm just super intrigued for it. Here again is In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. I saw this in Lingham's, which is another bookshop that I love, on the Wirral, and it was signed, and I was just like, do you know what, I'm getting it. So I got it. And last but not least, a book that I have shared on the channel before because it was in my last video, along with philosophy actually. And this is All the Wide Border, by Mike Parker, which is his new non-fiction book. I read On the Red Hill, absolutely loved it, and ended up getting to know Mike a little bit, then went and stayed on the Red Hill, and I've got to know Mike and his partner Pred and their wonderful dog Floss. Got to know them really, really well. I adore them all, and I'm excited to find out what Mike's got to say about borders. And I think it looks particularly at the border between England and Wales, especially around in the pandemic when there were just different laws, like literally meters apart on what you could and couldn't do. But also I think it looks at a bit of the history of that, and also just what is a border? Why is it there? What is the space that is literally just between those borders? Is there one? And that really intrigues me, so very much looking forward to getting to that soon too. Blimey. There we go. That was a big old video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're all doing super duper well. If you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts down below, apart from if you didn't like them, because I'm excited about them right now. They're all very fresh and exciting. And once I've read them though, it's fair game. If I loved it and you hated it, tell me. If I hated it and you loved it, tell me. If you loved it and I loved it, fabulous. If you hated it and I hated it, oh, that's a conversation, but not before then. Please. Thanks for joining me as always, and I will see you in another video very, very soon. And along with all the other things that I've mentioned before, linked down below, you can also find my Instagram, Twitter, where I'm now trying to keep a record of everything I read in my 42nd year. However, I'm only 41. However, I've already got behind with that dreadfully, but it has been a bonkers first week or so back post-holiday. I actually feel like I need a holiday post-holiday, but actually what I've got to do is go back to work because it's almost the end of my lunch break. So I will see you all in another video very, very soon. Bye.